下。
ल त्रिशुली बजारै गयो यार ल गयो यार ओ यार यता 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 आमा मामा यार बजारै ल
A wall of mud, rock, and ice broke loose high on the Himalayan frontier between Nepal and Tibet on Wednesday morning, collapsing into a mountain river and sending a wall of debris and water crashing into the valleys below. The moment it hit a border crossing was caught on camera. Footage shows people running across an open checkpoint yard, then the frame turning brown as mud and boulders swallow the road in seconds. The surge entered the Bote-Koshi River at around 9 a.m. local time, sweeping from the Chinese side of the border into Nepal's Rasuwa district, a mountainous region home to roughly 50,000 people. The settlements of Timur and Sayabrubesi took the first impact. Both sit directly on the riverbank. Both also serve as key staging points for trekkers heading into the Langtang Valley and for pilgrims traveling toward Mount Kailash and Lake Manasarovar. And both were packed with vehicles, cargo, and travelers when the water hit. Nepal's foreign minister told Parliament that a preliminary assessment points to an earthquake high in the Himalaya as the trigger. The shaking is believed to have released an avalanche of ice and rock, which slid into the river channel and formed a temporary natural dam. When that dam gave way, everything held behind it came down the valley in a single, violent pulse, which explains why the flood hit without warning, rather than rising gradually. The confirmed death toll has climbed steadily and now stands at 31 or more, according to police in Bagmati province. Officials expect that number to rise substantially because the number of people still unaccounted for is far larger. Nepal's tourism board, working from records supplied by trekking and travel agencies, has identified 384 travelers reported missing, 291 of them foreign nationals, and 93 Nepali citizens. The list of nationalities shows just how heavily this route is used by international travelers. Among the missing, 105 Indian citizens, 12 British nationals, 17 Malaysians, 4 South Africans, along with Australian, Dutch, and American citizens. 8 South Korean hydropower workers are also unaccounted for. Authorities are stressing that many of those listed may simply be out of contact. Mobile and internet service across the region has been completely knocked out. Rescue efforts were severely limited for hours. Army helicopters couldn't land in the worst-hit areas while the river remained above its normal channel, so crews resorted to winching survivors directly off rooftops and out of the mud. Video released by the Nepali army shows survivors, caked in gray silt up to their shoulders, some visibly injured, being lifted into hovering aircraft. At least a dozen people were airlifted out of Rasuwa before conditions closed in again. The destruction didn't stop at the border. The Bote-Koshi feeds into the Trishuli River, and the surge carried downstream into Nuwakot and Dading districts. Around 60 houses near Trishuli Bazaar were swept away, and 2 bridges over the Trishuli were damaged or destroyed. Residents describe cars, cargo containers, and pieces of buildings tumbling through the current, with mud burying ground floors and courtyards many kilometers from where the collapse began. Nepal's power grid has taken a heavy hit. The Energy Ministry reports that roughly 430 megawatts of generation capacity, most of it hydroelectric, has been knocked offline. That's more than 12% of the country's total installed hydropower capacity of around 3.2 gigawatts. The Rasuwa hydropower project, rated at 111 megawatts, sat directly in the flood's path, along with the Sanjen, Upper Trishuli 3A, Chilime, and Devigat facilities. The customs complex at Rasuwa, one of Nepal's main trade gateways to China, was overrun. Vehicles and stored goods were carried off by the floodwaters, and a recently completed bridge at the crossing was destroyed outright. Cross-border commercial traffic has come to a complete stop. On the Chinese side, State media has reported major casualties and missing persons at the Girong port checkpoint in the Shigatse region, where the slide crossed the frontier. Roads, communications, and power in the surrounding area have been cut, and local authorities are warning that routes remain at risk of further landslides. Chinese leadership has ordered an all-out search effort, along with stronger early warning measures against secondary disasters. Relief supplies are now moving into the affected county. No official casualty figures have yet been released from the Chinese side. Downstream districts remain on high alert. The Bode Koshi and Trishuli rivers eventually feed into the Gandak River system, which crosses into India, and security has been increased at the Valmiki Nagar barrage. Nepal's Prime Minister confirmed that police and military units have joined the rescue effort and has ordered residents in low-lying areas along the rivers to move to higher ground immediately. This isn't the first disaster to strike this exact stretch of river. Just over a year ago, a flash flood tore down the same corridor, killing 9 people, leaving more than 20 missing, and destroying the Friendship Bridge linking Nepal and China. That event was traced to the sudden draining of a superglacial lake north of the border, at an elevation above 5,000 meters. Scientists say the pattern behind these disasters is well documented. Warming across the Himalayas is destabilizing ice, thawing frozen ground that once held steep slopes together, and swelling meltwater lakes perched on and behind glaciers, lakes held back only by loose moraine and ice, not engineered structures. Add in seismic activity across one of the most tectonically active mountain ranges on Earth, and the result is a growing number of high-energy floods that strike without rainfall, without storm warnings, and without time for anyone downstream to react. Search and recovery operations continue across Rasuwa, Nuwakot, and Dading tonight. Officials caution that many communities remain unreachable by road, that the true scale of loss in the upper valley is still unknown, and that the confirmed death toll is likely to climb well beyond current figures as rescue teams finally reach the areas closest to where the mountain gave way. We will continue to bring you updates on this developing disaster.